Subscribe to Baby Gang on Patreon for updates and bonus content.
Hello, my name is Elliot. This is my channel. And that was a noise. I've talked about BTS a lot. I've talked about BTS on Twitter. I've talked about BTS on YouTube. I'm pointing at things. As I try to figure out the direction that I'm going to take my channel in, I think talking about BTS might be the thing that I should do. I mean, hell, I enjoy all the other times that I do it. I might as well do it again. This time though, what I specifically want to talk about is my journey to becoming a BTS stan. Because I haven't really been super specific about it in the past, and it seems kind of like an obvious thing to talk about. Not only just because I talk about BTS so much, I never really talk about my story with BTS. Specifically because as a person from a certain background, a dude from New York who listens to hip hop, I might not seem like the typical person that would be into BTS. And so today, I think I would like to address a large audience of people, I guess. People who are fans of BTS already. Hi. What's up, Army? As well as people who are curious about BTS but don't necessarily think it's for them or might otherwise skip out on it, given that BTS does happen to be a group that has a lot of stigma attached for a plethora of reasons. Yes, I understand people have reservations about the fandom. So do the people in the fandom, by the way. Yes, I understand that there are people who have reservations about K-pop music and pop music in general, and I'm not going to aim to convert anybody necessarily or to tell people what they should or shouldn't be listening to. I think that's kind of a corny thing to do, but what I will try to do is just inform people about what my story is and about what I care about. Today I'm drinking cold chamomile tea and spilling it on myself. Good God. An Elliot rant. Some background on myself. So yeah, as I said, I've been a hip hop fan for most of my life. My favorite album of all time is actually Lupe Fiasco's The Cool. Another favorite album of all time for me is Blonde by Frank Ocean. Those albums came out almost a decade apart and were so influential to me, not only because I'm a musician and I take such interest in the way that they created their music, but also because they had profound impact on my life and how I saw myself. When I listened to Lupe Fiasco's The Cool, when I listened to any Lupe Fiasco record back when I was a preteen or even before I was a preteen, I felt such a connection to him because he spoke about things that seemed nerdy. He spoke about things like Japanese art, and he spoke about these really intricate concepts. And it was something that I was not really used to, and as a dumb little kid, I didn't assume that hip-hop music could be so deep, I guess. Or at least I did, but perhaps I just had never really been exposed to it until Lupe Fiasco came around. And as a little kid, you know, you're pretentious and you're looking for something to attach yourself to, so you eat it up. Truthfully, though, that record still holds a great place in my heart, not only because of the sentimental impact it had on me, but because I still think about the themes of those records that he made, particularly on The Cool, and I still think about the way that he rhymed and the way that he created his music to this day. And since then, I've become such a huge fan of hip-hop, which I feel like I can directly link to Lupe Fiasco. Then when you talk about an album like Blonde, I mean, that's an album where he's talking so much about childhood and nostalgia, but also talking so much and so eloquently about these experiences that shape you and shape adulthood, and these really complicated, dark feelings, confusing feelings that follow you throughout your journey to young adulthood. And as somebody who was a young adult newly in 2016 and was looking for guidance a little bit, I found so much guidance in a person's music and a person's expression of self. I've also been a huge fan of artists like Kendrick Lamar and Kanye, and we don't have to talk about Kanye today. All these different artists have had such a profound impact in my life, and it's all through hip hop. I mean, is there any better art form in the world than hip hop? Is there anything cooler in the world than rapping? You know, I don't know, debate me. I've also listened to hip hop of all different types, so don't judge me as being part of anything. I listen to underground hip hop and I listen to like SoundCloud rap. Although it's 2020, is SoundCloud rap really a thing anymore? 100 Gexes maybe.
Hey, you little piss baby, you think you're so fucking cool, huh?
So with that in mind, my writing career that I sort of started after graduating with a journalism major was kind of predicated on talking about hip hop. I wrote a lot about hip hop for DJ Booth, an online publication. I also got to know things about art and different things like that. But I sort of was finding myself in a dark place in mid 2019 because of a number of things that just didn't seem to be going my way. Ah, crikey. Crikey. Crikey? Does anybody say crikey in an American accent? So Jiminy Crickets, I said to myself, how am I going to get myself back into art? How am I going to find something that I can connect to, that I can write about frequently and I'm not going to feel dumb writing about, or something that can move me artistically. And somehow BTS found me. There's a saying within the BTS fandom, BTS army, that you find BTS when you most need them. And I think that was the case for me. Now I don't want to make this sound too cultish either. You'll get there later. BTS found me through the first thing that I have listed here in my notes, the first sort of section of this video, which is representation. Presentation, but also representation, because the re is in front of the presentation, meaning representation, but also presentation. So the reason I made this weird double word is because presentation was the first thing that sort of jumped out at me. I had become familiarized with songs like Fake Love, basically just the song Fake Love actually, prior to really delving into BTS during last summer. Even though I really liked the song, I just hadn't found like the energy or the space in my heart to like go, all right, let's do this BTS thing. Let me really dive into this rabbit hole. But then when I found that I could possibly write an interesting article about BTS, given that I am an Asian American person and given that BTS's status as being connected to hip hop might be a really interesting thing to write about for DJ Booth, I decided to jump in, and the first thing that stuck out to me was that presentation. There's a video that used to be on YouTube, but because major channels actually remove performance videos usually because of a contract stipulation, after like a certain period of time you can't watch it anymore. But trust me when I say that the Jimmy Fallon BTS Idol performance was fantastic. Scooby-doo-doop-doo-doop-doop. So I was astounded by how these young Korean men who, you hear all these things about how they're superstars and how they're, attractive and cool, whatever, had so much passion in their performance. And obviously the dancing was on point, the singing was on point, the instrumental was very upbeat and fascinating. But even the way that they expressed their movement and the way that they seemed so connective with the message of what they were saying, as well as connective with the audience that was present, it's just something that you can't really describe with words. You kind of have to see it to believe it. And that's the thing, is that I was compelled by seeing BTS. Their visibility, not only as a burgeoning group that has become more and more popular, but also their visibility as these striking performers and these strikingly dressed, incredibly cool looking people. I mean, there's just no way that you can't kind of go, wow, what the hell is that? But I put the re in front of the presentation to spell the word representation, because for me, like I said before, the Asian aspect was kind of interesting. I'm somebody from a partial East Asian background. I'm 25% Chinese technically, but I'm Dominican and Chinese. Being a Chinese person colors your perspective on life a certain way. One of the things that you notice is that there's not a lot of great Asian representation. Even people that have made it successfully in the entertainment industry oftentimes don't seem to be people that you really want to look up to, because they either kind of make caricatures of East Asian stereotypes, or perhaps they've done things that are problematic. For me, BTS was astounding because it was like, wow, these are young men that are Asian that are so kind of boldly Asian. I had no idea at the time quite how much they represented their Korean origins as of yet. But even then, I could tell that there was a certain energy that they brought forth that was a pride in their own culture and their colorfulness as individuals, yet not needing to try to mimic any particular culture or mimic any particular way of living or way of sounding in order to feel like themselves. They were just so astoundingly themselves. It just makes me so proud every time to think about how young Asian kids like me could look on TV and see BTS successful and say, wow, that's a kind of role model for me. I could be like BTS. Steve Aoki, who collaborated with BTS, was talking about how it's similar to the Bruce Lee phenomenon. Bruce Lee was this massive cultural icon in America despite being a Chinese person, and we didn't really have icons like that post Bruce Lee. But now BTS is kind of like that. I mean, they're superstars, and they're superstars by being themselves, and by being passionate, and by being really good at what they do, and by caring about people. You don't have to try to be somebody else to be somebody. So that presentation, that representation, was really what inspired me to look further into BTS. And the more that I dug, the more that I was fascinated by what I saw. And this is where the hip hop thing kind of comes into play for all of you guys who are hip hop fans possibly watching this and going, what the hell does this have to do with anything? Let me tell you what this has to do with anything. So the second section of this video, quote unquote, I'm so ironic, quote unquote, is artistry. I was astounded that the more that I looked into BTS, the more that their artistry was so succinct and powerful and so notable and so palpable in what they were doing. And it's kind of one of those things that seems backhanded almost, to be like, wow, these Asian artists are really artistic. But obviously there's these depictions right now of K-pop in the media as being this sort of facetious art form, this facetious industry that sort of molds entertainers but isn't really art. And people in Korea even believe that. But also people in Korea really like BTS, as BTS has become one of these groups that proves that no matter whether or not you're an idol, whether or not you're a rapper, whatever the case might be, if you have passion for your art and your artistry, that can come out, and that can be a powerful thing. And this is connected to hip-hop. Why? Because BTS started off as a hip-hop group. BTS were a hip-hop group originally in origin when Bang PD, the head of Big Hit Entertainment, created them years ago. And it developed into being this K-pop idol group over time when they decided that that was the direction they wanted to go in. But by that point, they had already signed members RM and Suga and even J-Hope, I believe. RM, Suga, and J-Hope make up the rap line of BTS, which I was fascinated by. I was like, what's a rap line? Oh, this is the part of the group that raps. The other four members, Jimin, Taehyung, Jin, and Jungkook, are singers and dancers, as well as the rappers being dancers. But their focus is more on the vocal aspect, and they do different genres of music. But the rap line all write their own stuff, which is super important for me. See the last video on this channel if you're more interested in why that's a thing. They write their own stuff, they produce stuff, they put their themes and their ideas into the music, and they care so much about hip-hop. It's fascinating because I didn't think, oh, this K-pop group that is so bombastic and popular, there's no way that they care about hip-hop like that though, right? Like they got that rap monster guy in the group who is now RM. But he can't, I don't know how much he really likes rap. I mean, they probably just call him that, but no, that dude's really a rapper, dude. J-Hope is a real freaking rapper. Suga is a real freaking rapper. Not to say that any rapper is like a fake rapper. This is not me being shady. But these guys are not only adept at writing their own music, but they're technically adept as rappers. Their rhyme schemes are on point. Their thematic structure is on point. The way that they structure their verses, the way that they switch up their flows and their deliveries and their cadences. It's just fascinating because their skill sets align with the kinds of rappers that I thought were the best types of rappers growing up. I mean, I was into Slaughterhouse at one point, so I was looking at BTS rap line like, they can't be on that level. But in Korean hip hop, they're kind of like that in a way. I mean, they're really like that as rappers. They're nice like that. It's not just about being nice too. Like I said, it's also about caring about hip hop. I was fascinated because they have this song called Hip Hop File or Hip Hop Lover. It's off one of their earlier albums, and in the first verse, RM raps about these different albums that deeply influenced him. He includes in that list Illmatic and Doggy Style and In My Mind and The Chronic. He mentions Black Star and Gangstar and Eric B and Rakim and Pete Rock and CL Smooth. J-Hope raps about J. Cole and Kanye and Mac Miller and Kendrick. Me seeing that these rappers in this K-pop group were mentioning rappers that I idolized and were tributing them and citing them as influences was like, what? That just really confirmed for me something that still kind of blows my mind to this day, which is like, somehow, despite the fact that people don't think it's possible, it is very, very possible for this K-pop idol group to be succinctly good at hip-hop and to succinctly care about hip-hop. Why am I using this word succinctly so much? But it's not just about the artistry as it connects to hip-hop. BTS have so many records that I feel are artistically sharp and powerful and deserve awards. And it's fascinating because within the current pop landscape, you don't see a lot of artists that are as deep artistically as BTS are with their pop music. I mean, sure, you have a lot of great artists in the pop world, don't get me wrong. I actually am a fan of people like Billie Eilish and Ariana Grande, but BTS do the things that people have always applauded American artists and British artists for doing. They create albums with thematic structures, concept albums basically. They have records that touch on different themes and use the music in tandem with the lyrics to portray certain emotions and ideas. Take the song Black Swan, which is off their latest album, Map of the Soul 7. It is so good. It's the song that combines these kind of trap type beat, R&B, hip hop influences with this 808 drum track and these rolling hi-hats and this just great composition in terms of the breaks and then the dropping back in, as well as this potent string section that carries the song throughout. And the song is called Black Swan, so you can see that it's borrowing these influences from not only the film Black Swan, but like ballet and classical music. And the song itself is actually about potentially losing inspiration in art and in music and having to find it again and fearing losing music as a powerful force in your life, but then realizing that music is the real true driving force of your life and you can never really lose it. So that song is really great, but it doesn't stop at songs either, because if you watch their music videos are deeply thematic as well, from the Singing in the Rain classical film references and the Boy with Love music video to the whole Bangtan universe. And if you ask me to describe the Bangtan universe in this video, it will be even more long-winded than need be. But what I will say about the Bangtan universe is it depicts this non-linear story about youth in South Korea by using the 7 members as actors with different plot lines and backgrounds and converging their worlds together in this sort of traumatic plot line wherein they lose their friendships and wherein they're trying to save their friendships by, one of the members, Jin, going back in time. I say Jin. It's Jin. It's spelled Jin, but we say Chin because in Korean that's kind of how it's pronounced. I'm still learning my Korean. I'm still getting better at it. I'm sorry. The cinematography in the Bangtan universe is fascinating, and the fact that they're combining these like really big pop hits with this ongoing storyline, at least they were a few years ago, is just so cool. And you had to watch all of the different videos to kind of get it, and even people don't really get it now, and there's all these different theories. It just offers so much room for people to contribute their own ideas and questions and feelings into these artistic creations. One of the greatest things about art that I feel, whether it's in hip hop or in other types of art forms, is when you have art that inspires people in so many different ways that it can't be a linear one-way experience. You can't just say, wow, this art is this. Everybody has their own interpretation and feelings about it. That just makes the art so much more powerful because it lasts in so many different ways for so many different people. Ooh, I make motions with my arm. Scooby-Doo-Doo. Now I want to talk about the messages in BTS's music, because that is the thing that I think has really set such a strong impact in my heart with BTS. I won't go into depth about it too much, but one of the great things that I've always loved about hip-hop is that there are messages in the songs, even when the songs don't directly have messages. The messages, even of songs that are party songs, can tell you a lot about life and about how people feel in certain regions of America and how they express themselves. Of course, there's also so much room for storytellers and incredible lyricists like Black Thought of the Roots or Lupe Fiasco to write these different messages in their songs and convey these different ideas about life that can be quite healing and quite informative for the listener. The first song that BTS dropped was called No More Dream. It was their debut song, and No More Dream is a song about the ills of South Korean society imposing a feeling of needing to have a dream upon the Korean youth. The lyrics are authentic and raw and motivational, but they're also quite almost anti-capitalist, anti-imperialist a little bit. There was a lot of pushback on it at the time because people conceived that it was cheesy and whatever the case might be. But there are some fascinating lyrics in it, even looking back and seeing it as being whatever. Suga starts his verse by saying, I want a big house, big cars, and big rings, but actually I don't have any big dreams. It's talking about how people will impose different ideas of dreams onto you and tell you that your dream should be this, that you should be pursuing this path. It's rebelling against the concept of needing to go to college in order to be successful. South Korea, as you probably know, is one of the countries where studying is one of the most important things. There's such a pressurized environment for students to get good grades and succeed and then become career path people. And that hasn't necessarily worked out for all the young people in South Korea. There have become generations, they say, of young people in South Korea that have dealt with not being able to find a job despite having the qualifications, that have dealt with the constant pressures and the constant lack of new opportunities because of the way capitalism works. that lead them to realize that actually life isn't quite as simple and as path oriented as we were taught to believe growing up. Despite the hardships that they're facing on behalf of the economy, they get talked down upon by elders who say, oh, you're just not working hard enough. That's something that you can see in the song Pepsi, where they actually talk about spoon theory and class struggle. But one of my favorite BTS songs, and one of the songs that I think has one of the most powerful messages, is Paradise. It's kind of based off of a speech that Suga, one of the rappers in the group, gave after a New Year celebration where he says it's okay not to have a dream. So it's further expanding on this idea of rebelling against societal pressures on you to have a specific dream and to pursue this dream and to constantly be working your whole life to reach this idea of a paradise. Whereas BTS in this song say, actually, paradise can be right here. Paradise can be in your present. Just accept that rather than chase something. The bridge of the song Paradise is in English, and they're saying, stop running for nothing, my friend. It's just fascinating because even RM has spoken about how this song is inspired by Marxism. In the song, they're saying a dream doesn't have to be something grand, or it doesn't have to be a lot of money. Don't follow this idea that you need to make a lot of money in order to be successful and happy, because people who make a lot of money aren't necessarily happy anyway. Find the happiness in your own life. If your dream is just to go and have fun with your friends, to buy a laptop, or just to eat and sleep is one of the lyrics in the song, then do that. Accomplish that dream. And don't let anybody impose on you this idea that your dream needs to be any specific type of thing. Live purposelessly. The messages of these songs inspire me so greatly and relates to the final section of this video, which is lifestyle. BTS, through their messages and their themes and their artistry and the fun that I have watching them make jokes at each other and look good in photo shoots, have created something of a new way of life for me. I was in a darker place, and the things that they said, whether it's in the Love Yourself series wherein they talk about self-love and mental health, whether it's in their messages about economics or about kind of capitalism and stuff like that, and songs like Strange with Suga and RM. These songs fascinate me, but they also compel me to think differently about my life. They inspire me to follow different things, to not get caught up in such grandiose ideas of how I'm supposed to be or what success that I need to have. And that helps me so much to just make the video I'm making now, to make a song, to go for a walk when it's a nice day outside, to just do the thing and live in the present and enjoy my present, instead of constantly being stuck in this goal-oriented mindset that doesn't honestly bring me any fulfillment. A big part of the lifestyle change that is oriented through becoming a big fan of BTS is being part of the fandom. As you know, we have a big fandom. We have a very powerful fandom. We have a very active fandom. It's called BTS Army. There are a lot of different types of people. Don't ever let people tell you that BTS Army is a certain way or it's a certain thing. There's so many different sections and different types of people in Army. I've met academics and doctors, and I've made friends with other journalists through BTS Army. Sure, there's a lot of people in BTS Army that don't act appropriately and do bad things on Twitter, but people all over Twitter do bad things on Twitter, not just in the K-pop world. There's also a ton of people that just genuinely can become some of the better friends that you've ever met in your life, that can help you with your struggles by talking about their own struggles on the timeline or becoming part of their group chats and discords. I was able to bring together a community of friends through BTS Army, and we've talked about so many different things and built relationships in many cases that mean a lot to me. I've met people that have helped me with my skincare. I've met people that have helped me with my music. I've met so many different types of people. So yeah, there's a lot of people that I've met also that maybe I don't like, or maybe that I don't live a certain way that I would want to live. But you'll find that no matter where you go, for the most part, I've been able to meet people who have been inspired as much as I've been inspired or more by BTS, who care about their music and their art and what they're saying in it, who are also compelled by this fantastic, wild moment in history wherein this Korean pop group are now the biggest pop act in the world, who also understand how much their success and the struggles that they face to this day are tied into systemic injustice. So, in conclusion, everyone, before my camera dies again, I was a rap fan. I was a dude from New York who is straight. According to societal standards and media narratives, I was the least likely person to be a big fan of BTS. And yet they have affected me so profoundly that my life has changed. And I feel like a better person because of loving BTS. I feel like a bigger fan of rap. I feel like a bigger fan of art and a more confident and focused artist. I feel like a kinder person. And that's without being obsessed to the point where I do dumb stuff on the internet all the time. I'm not a stalker. I'm not somebody who harasses people. I say dumb stuff all the time on Twitter and whatever, if that's anything, but I was saying dumb stuff before I became a fan of BTS. You might not be a fan of BTS. It might not be for you. But at the very least, if you're a hip hop fan, if you're the type of person that thinks you're a certain type of person, open up. Find different things that you've been a little bit curious about, but maybe don't think is for you. Allow different subcultures and different themes and ideas to have some sort of an impact in your life. Open yourself up to try different things and approach different things without judgment. Approach people who are fans of different things without judgment, because you never know just how complicated and interesting these different things might be. And if you're interested, you should try to listen to BTS. What you're gonna hear in the media is about them being the One Direction of Korea, or this cool boy band that all the girls like, or whatever the case might be. You'll see people downplay them. You'll say people say that they're not talented, or say that they don't care about music, and that they're just industry plants, and that they were just robots created in a factory, because apparently every K-pop artist is from a factory. I have essays about that kind of stuff, but the most important thing that I should tell you is they actually make art like all artists do, and they put time and effort into their art, and it has messages and themes that are fascinating, and it does things musically and technically from a hip-hop standpoint that are fascinating, and you can include their performances in that, like the MMA performance from 2018 where they show their Korean roots in this amazing performance of Idol. Stop allowing media narratives and whatever the dude next door, the dude on YouTube tells you about K-pop fans and BTS fans and BTS themselves. Stop letting those people overrun your ideologies and let you think that you're better than any types of people, or that any types of people are simply not understanding things as well as you are, and therefore are bad, or there's nothing to be gained from them. Sure, there are people out there that listen to music and I don't like that music. There are people out there that say things online that I really don't think that they should say. But ultimately, there's something to be learned from anything. If you open yourself up and you allow yourself to be vulnerable and to be an interested person without being goal-oriented, without trying to be hard, without trying to be a certain type of person, your life can change. And the world can change. Yeah.